Hi everybody, it's Kate. Today I'm talking about all the American Girl doll movies. There are a few that are like Amazon original movies, which I did not want to talk about. So I am very biased because I watched all these when I was a kid except for the most recent one, which came out in 2016. So I was like a little bit past the age of watching them. But I watch all the other ones, so I will try to keep my biases in check because there are a few of these that I've watched a billion times and I'm like, I love it. And it's like, I can definitely tell that it's because I watched them when I was a kid. But anyways, let's just get straight into it. So I'm going in release date order, not when they are taking place, just because I thought that would be easier to talk about. So our first movie is Samantha, an American Girl Holiday, and this is about a girl named Samantha, obviously, and it's set in 1904, and it's like whenever factories were on the rise and child labor was on the rise. I watched this a few times as a kid. I remember being really sad about it because there's this one scene where this little boy gets his finger stuck in a sewing machine, and I was like, this is the most horrific thing I've ever seen in my entire life. There's no way this is real. Our main character is Samantha, and she lives with her grandmother in like upstate New York. I don't know if it's upstate. In New York somewhere. Her neighbor boy, who she hates, their family are getting more servants, and it's the O'Malleys. So it's a father and his three daughters, Nellie, Bridget, and Jenny. And they're so little. They're so little. And like, I'm not gonna talk about their acting too negatively, but their acting reminds me of like when me and my like cousins and siblings would make like movies. And it's the worst acting possible. It's just like a little kid kind of doing what they want, but like semi in character. It's just so cute. I was like, you guys are so little. So they become friends. Nellie and Samantha are about the same age. They become friends. Samantha starts teaching Nellie how to read. So then they continue being friends, Nellie and Samantha. We find out that Nellie's mother passed away, and like Samantha's like, oh, I shouldn't have asked about your family, I'm sorry. And then like one of the next few scenes, Nellie asks Samantha about her family. She's like, and like goes to Samantha, she's like, we should just start reading. Her parents died, but it's like, girl, you asked the same thing. Like, she obviously is like, no, it's okay, like you didn't know. But it's so funny for like a minute. It's like, girl, you asked her the exact same thing. You can't get mad at her for asking you.
Better than your mom, Dad?
And then Samantha's aunt comes to visit. She lives with her grandma, so her grandmother's son comes to visit and brings a lady friend with him. And she's, oh my gosh, her name is Cordelia. The uncle's name is Uncle Gardner, and he brings Cordelia, his little lady friend. I said little. She's such a nice character. Like, I'll talk about it at the end. But yeah, she's such a nice character. And he announces that they're gonna get married, and Samantha's really upset because she doesn't want anything to change. They're supposed to hang out for a bit because he like lives in like New York City, so it's like they're supposed to hang out while he's here, but he's getting married. And oh my gosh, the grandma hates Cordelia. So Cornelia is super involved with women's suffrage. She does like a lot of like meetings with other women and like does protests and stuff. So like, hey, you know what I'm saying? But the grandma is like, yeah, women don't really need the right to vote. And she's like, yeah, I don't think women should need the right to vote. And it's like, while you have a young girl, don't you want a better life and world for her? And like, I know it's just showing of the times, but I was like, this stupid old lady. Cordelia and Gardner are getting married, and they're gonna get married like here in the grandmother's really nice fancy estate. And so she's staying with them for a while, and Samantha doesn't really like her, not because like she's mean, just because she doesn't want anything to change, where she's like, I want my Uncle Gardner to still be my family, but like once he gets married, she's gonna be the only family he has. Like, she's thinking of it very much like, I'm losing a family member. And I get it because she's like so young, and she lives with her grandmother primarily, who is, I think, a little overprotective over the son. Cordelia is so sweet. Like, this entire movie, she is just like has like the sweetest heart and is so sweet to Samantha, even though Samantha's not like related to her in any way. So Samantha overhears that Gardner is wanting to take Samantha to New York with them for a while till Christmas, and it's like just the summer right now, so it's like half a year. She's like, I want her to come with me to make up for like missing some, because he was supposed to take her to this like expo thing in St. Louis that she forgot about because he's like getting married and stuff. So he's like, I want to make it up to her, and I want to bring her to New York with me and Cornelia when we get married. And poor Samantha thinks that this is just like, she's like, oh, he's doing it because he just feels so bad for me. And she's like, what if Cornelia doesn't like want that? And she also later, she hears Cornelia's friends talk about how they feel so bad for Cornelia because Samantha is tagging along, and Cornelia must not want that. So she's like, oh, Cornelia doesn't like me and she doesn't want me to come with them, so I'm just like a burden, and they're just like shipping me off because they want my grandma to have time alone. She and her best friend Nellie, who is the servant for her neighbor, hide in like a little boathouse because she doesn't want to go to New York, and she's like, I don't want to go, like I want to stay here with you, you're my best friend. And they hide in the boathouse, and it's the saddest thing. She has like a whole memorial for her mom. And she has like it's just so heartbreaking. She has like her veil and a bunch of pictures and a bunch of her stuff in the boathouse. It's so sad. Like, it is heartbreaking. And they get caught, and it's like, oh, our, like, the neighbors, like, our servant girl is hiding out and sneaking into other people's property, and Samantha takes the loan and is like, I asked her to come out, blah, 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 blah. Samantha does not get in trouble because it's like, okay, we forgive them, they're just kids, whatever. At the wedding, Cornelia's veil gets burned. Like, this is, like, the preparation before the wedding itself, like, getting ready to get to the wedding. Some little kid is playing with, like, fire and accidentally lights the veil on fire. And she doesn't have a veil, and she's, like, really upset. You know what Samantha does? She gets her mom's veil and gives it to Cornelia. This is so, so insanely sweet. And Cornelia is super thankful. She's like, I don't know if I should. Thank you so much, blah, 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 blah. Oh, mamma mia, it's so sweet. And then the wedding happens without a hitch, blah, 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 blah. Samantha is the bridesmaid. It's very cute. They go to New York. They bring Samantha with them after they get settled. She is going to school, and her and Nellie are writing to each other all the time. So we find out that Samantha has to write a speech by the end of the semester for Christmas about progress in America. And she's like, I'm going to write it about factories because there are a ton of factories here in New York City. After a while, Nellie hasn't written back, and Samantha's really worried. But then she gets a letter from her grandmother that says that Nellie's dad died. And their neighbor who hired them sends them to an orphanage. They find out that they are in an orphanage in New York City, so she's like, oh my gosh, we should visit them. And her uncle is so sweet. He goes and, like, finds them, like, figures out what orphanage they're at, finds them. Cornelia knows someone who is a huge benefactor, so she schedules a meeting with them. It's really sweet. They're really great to her. She sees them and she realizes that they're in, like, terrible conditions, like, truly abhorrent conditions for these kids. She steals the kids. So, like, she sneaks in, steals all the kids, and runs off. And then keeps them in the attic of Garner's house, Cornelia's house. Keeps them there for a while until one of the little kids gets sick, and she has to tell her uncle and stuff. And they're like, we have to tell the authorities because they're looking for these kids. You broke the law. It doesn't matter if what you were trying to do is good. And also the orphanage is, like, super abusive to them. Nellie is starting to work at a factory, and Samantha visits her and is like, hey, your sister's really sick, like, you have to come home. This is whenever Samantha realizes how horrible factories are for kids. It's just like a bunch of kids who are getting hurt and are not allowed to leave their station. It's horrific, like, truly horrific. And Samantha's like, oh my gosh, this is not progressive America. This is horrible. Like, this is a violation of human rights, and we're just thinking of it as progressive because we don't see the ins and outs of it. We only see that there's such a high amount of stuff that's getting produced. So the uncle, like, is like, yeah, they can stay with us until the kids get better, then we can figure out what to do. They call the authorities. Nothing really happened because they find out that the lady running the orphanage, she gets fired because she's been not only abusing children, but also is stealing a lot of money from the orphanage. Months have gone by during this whole movie, and Samantha Reed is doing her speech. Originally, her speech that she was been practicing was about how factories are making America, you know, it's progressing America in such fast ways. And then after she saw what happens in factories, she changes her speech to be about the horrors of the factories and, like, you're not allowed to leave your station, people are getting hurt, you're forced to work.
There were children, younger than I am, working from early morning until after dark. They were dirty, they were cold, and they couldn't leave. They don't have time to go to school, and they are too tired to play. Children are hurt in these places. I know. I saw one. Then we have not made good progress in America.
She's doing this in front of a bunch of people, and, like, it's, like, for a competition, and she's, like, 10, so it's, like, this is truly so impactful, and I think it just goes to show how, like, great Samantha is, because she, like, makes the speech about how horrible the factories are and the conditions of it. And after, multiple people just talked about how amazing factories are. Like, other kids in our class are like, factories are really great because they help people do this and they blah 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 blah. They give jobs. They are making production so much faster and all this stuff. And her uncle and Cordelia, I guess her aunt and uncle, I guess Cordelia is now her official aunt, are so proud of her. It is so sweet. They're like, yes, good job, we loved it. And Cornelia is super proud of her even more so because Cornelia is like really into women's suffrage and stuff. So she obviously cares a lot about like human rights and all this stuff. Not that the two go hand in hand, but like majority of the time, yes. And so she's like, I want you to give that speech at my next women's suffrage meeting. So it's Christmas Eve and they adopt the 3 kids. It's like, hey, listen, Samantha really needs 3 sisters, and not just any sisters. She wants you 3. So they adopt them, and they're like, Samantha, you should stay with us forever. It's so cute. So they all go to the orphanage Christmas morning and give like a bunch of gifts and stuff, and it's under new ownership, so all the kids look happy. Oh, this movie is so touching. It's so cute. That's, by the way, the end of the movie. This movie is really good. I would probably give it like a 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, because it's like, not only is the story incredibly impactful, I feel like a lot of the kids did a pretty good job acting. Like, obviously they're not like outstanding, but like also they did like pretty good, and like costume design's really good. That's something I really praise American Girl for, is the costume design is always on point. You know, it's so good. It shows like not only being like, oh, this is what little kids are like, but also being like, there's also the horrors that are going on at this time, and these kids can do something about it, even though it's not like the most insane thing ever. Like, she made a speech about how bad factories are. She's not gonna stop factory productions, but she did what she can. Like, I like how it's like realistic in a sense, but also goes to show like the bravery of these kids and stuff like that. I also really like that like a lot of American Girl movies, they make women, like they rarely make women like an evil villain, because it's like usually like, oh, the stepmother is evil and she doesn't like the kid and whatever, but they make a majority of the women very positive role models, especially because a majority of the time young girls are going to be watching these movies, so I like that they make almost every single female character not only incredibly strong and, you know, championing for human rights or championing just like being a better person and going against being like, oh, I can do this thing even though I'm a woman living in this time period or whatever. And I really enjoy that American Girl does that, because I feel like a lot of movies, especially younger movies, they make like 2 women are pitted against each other for like no reason. Like a lot of like younger rom-com movies or even some like Barbie stuff, it's like they're pitted against each other and they're gonna be fighting, and one of them is like evil because they have this like weird thing that they're against. And I really enjoy that American Girl doesn't do that. Like, obviously there are women characters who are villains in this and are not the best, but they counteract it with so many positive female role models, especially older women. Like, they make the aunt like an incredible person. Like, not only takes this girl who she's never met with loving arms, but she pushes for these kids to get better treatment in orphanages, and she's pushing for women's suffrage, and she's pushing all these things. And it's like, I just love that they make it like every character, like nearly every character who is a woman, a good person. I really enjoy that, and I think it's like a very good, impactful thing for young girls to see. So our next movie is Felicity, which is about a young girl during the American Revolution. So it's like about like some of her family are patriots and some of them are loyalists, and it's about like the unrest of the citizens in the colonies. The main character who plays Felicity is Shailene Woodley. And also, she has a horse, or she's trying to get a horse named Penny. A copper horse. Which I'm like, girl, the Penny did not exist. Felicity and her very good friend Ben, who is played by the guy who played the main kid in Air Bud. The horse named Penny is very wild, and she wants to tame it, but it's like the guy who owns the horse is abusive to the horse. And throughout the whole movie, it's like, you can't take what's not yours. Even it's his property. He can treat it however he wants. I know this is of the time, but I was like, I don't like you. I don't like y'all. I don't like y'all. And same with like women. So she has to go to this like tea class to become like a proper lady. And it's like, yes, I would like some tea. Yes, I would like this. And like being so proper. And I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I was not alive then. It would be miserable for me. Anyways, Felicity keeps seeing Penny, like, at night and gives her food and stuff, to the point where Penny starts trusting her, and then she starts riding her every night, and it's, like, this is a wild horse that's shocking. Or, like, not wild, but, like, wild as in untamed. So Felicity steals Penny and is like, what? He said that anyone who can ride her can have her. But, like, the guy had said it in a fit of anger when he was alone, being like, oh, whoever can ride you can have you. I hate you, to the horse. Because the horse, like, sprinted off. So it's not, like, it's very clear that it was not, like, an actual, like, agreement. It was just him being pissed off because the horse he abuses is not kind to him. Felicity takes the horse and is like, I can ride her, so I should have her. And then the man comes and is like, you stole my horse. And then her dad is like, we can pay you for the horse. And he's like, no, I don't want you to pay my horse. It's my horse. I don't want you to have it. So Felicity's like screaming and crying. And then the mean old man is like, if you ever come near the horse again, I am killing it and I'm gonna skin it.
If I see you near this horse again, I swear I'll kill it. I'll tear its hide before I let you touch her again.
What is the point of having an animal if you're just going to abuse it? Like, I don't understand. And, like, I know that it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, there are just evil people in the world, but I'm like, how on earth? But it's just, like, it's so crazy. And, like, I think it just kind of is, like, yeah, he just, like, didn't understand kindness. Because that's kind of like the thing in the back, like, it happens later, but, like, he becomes, like, not as bad. And he's like, yeah, Felicity showed me what kindness is. And it's like, you're a grown-ass man. You don't know how to treat someone right. You don't know how to treat a living being correctly. Huge side-eye. Massive side-eye. She's upset, but she goes to her grandfather's plantation. Like, I know it's very other times, but I was like, oof, 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 oof. And it doesn't show, like, any negative things, but it's like, I'm so excited to see my father on his plantation. And her grandfather is a loyalist, because he's, like, an old fart, and he's like, I like the king. And her father is a patriot, and they kind of have, like, beef, where it's like, how could you say that he's just a king? And it's like, the dad has like he owns like a general store and is like, I'm not selling tea anymore because the king is trying to tax it. And it's like, I kind of like it because it's like in this perspective of her where she's like, I just kind of want my family to get along. Like, I just want y'all to get along. And also, as this is happening, we found out that Ben had ran away, her friend who works at her dad's store. He ran away because he didn't want to be an apprentice anymore. Like, he had like 3 more years left. And he wanted to become a soldier to fight on the Patriot side. So he was like, I want to be a soldier, but I can't because I have an apprenticeship left. Which is like so crazy. You can be locked into a job for 3 years, like legally not allowed to go. Because he's like 14 or 15. But anyways, he runs away, and for some reason he is near where the grandfather's house plantation is. And Felicity finds him and is like, what are you doing here? Like, his leg is cut, he's like ran away, and it like looks like he's been in battle, but I think he just like skinned his knee or something, I don't know. And he's like, I'm not running away, I'm just like trying to do something. She's like, and then Felicity kind of gives him a speech and is like, how dare you, like, you shouldn't run away, you lied to my father, you lied to me, you made me think that you were a respectable person. I sort of understand that, but I also don't get it, because it's like, the father is a patriot, right, and is like very against the king's taxation. And Ben is like that too, and Ben's like, I want to fight for our country. And then the dad's like, but you're gonna stay here and work for me. You're gonna stay here. It's like, girl, you could hire someone else. You could hire your daughter. But like, women aren't allowed to work, so it's out of the question. And like a little bit later, Ben comes back and is like, I'm really sorry I ran away. Because like the dad is at the grandfather's house and is like, so like I'm really sorry. And like the dad is like, I forgive you. I'm upset at you, but I forgive you. Come back to work with me, and then we can talk about it. Once you turn 16, then you can be a soldier. Another sweet part. So, like, the grandfather takes Felicity and is like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get a horse. Help me find a horse. He had found a bunch of copper-colored horses to try to find Penny, because Penny had ran away. Well, okay. Ran away is... Felicity had released Penny, so Penny ran away. And so the grandfather finds Penny and gives Penny to Felicity, which is so sweet. And then like the grandfather sorts it all out with the evil guy who owns Penny beforehand. It's really sweet. So then the guy who owned Penny is in jail for something, and Felicity's like, if I'm not kind to him, then I'm as bad as him, so I'm gonna give him like a blanket because he's cold, because it's like cold. This is like the same logic as like a villain being like, if you kill me, you're as bad as me. And it's like, girl, you just killed like 1 million people. Like, you just demolished a city. If the superhero kills you, it's not that bad. He's not you. Like, it's like the worst argument ever where it's like, if I don't help this abuser, then I'm as bad as him.
Huh?
No. Like, I get what they're going. It's just showing that Felicity's, like, very kind, and it's obviously showing, like, the perspective of a young girl going through all this. Of course she's going to be incredibly kind and forgiving, but I was just like, I don't know if he deserves that. He was also, like, yelling about how he was gonna skin a horse if you got near it. The mother gets sick because she has another baby, and Felicity has to kind of take care of the new baby, her younger sister, and then her dad is kind of taking care of the mom, but also still working. Felicity's been like going above and beyond to care for her family, and she was supposed to go to like this like Christmas Eve ball because she's like turned into a little lady, but she's not going to because her mom is so sick. But then her mom gets like better Christmas Eve, and then the mom is like, you should go to the ball. And the mom had like sewn her a dress. It's so sweet. She had done that before she got sick, by the way. So Felicity's going to go, and her escort is Ben, and he's like, you've been working so hard taking care of your mom, I wanted to do something nice for you. So it's very sweet, and then like they go to the ball, and she shows off that she's like can learn how to dance because she was going to these like tea lessons and stuff, and they also taught her how to dance. She has a great time at the ball. Whenever she gets home, she realizes that her horse Penny is going into labor, and so she calls the evil man who's not in jail anymore and is like, hey, my grandfather told me that you're really good at, like, you were the best horse person ever. And it's like, then why was he abusing horses? But he helps deliver them, and they named it Patriot. This guy who used to own Penny and abused him helped Penny, and we wouldn't be able to, neither of them would survive if it wasn't for him. We should invite him to Christmas dinner. And they do. Can you imagine, like, if your animal was abused, if you invited that person over for dinner because they just did something nice for the animal one time? And that's literally the end of the movie. Everyone's like, Merry Christmas, even though some of us are patriots, some of us are loyalists. Merry Christmas. And that's the end of the movie. This one I didn't really watch much as a kid because I think I got too sad whenever they were abusing the horse. It wasn't my favorite. It's not bad by any means. I'd probably give it like a 6 or a 6.5 out of 10. Our third movie is Molly, an American Girl on the Home Front. Let's just get right into this one. This one is probably one of my least favorites. It's just like not interesting. It's like about World War II. Her dad is a doctor, her mom's a stay-at-home mom, and then she has like 2 older siblings, and it's just like dealing with being like, oh, we have to ration now. And then it's like, oh, our dad is getting sent off to... He's volunteering because he's a doctor to go so he can help people. And she's very upset because, like, yes, she's, like, very American, but she also is like, I don't want my dad to go because he is going to die. Molly wants to win Miss Victory. It's, like, the lead tap dance role at the Christmas story, but then it's also, like, you are kind of the face of us and how we're gonna help people overseas and stuff. She's like, okay, I'm gonna do that because my dad mentioned that he thought that was cool before my dad left. And the way the dad tells them is during a raid, like during an air raid sirens, he just tells them. The mom has to start working at an aircraft factory because she needs to bring in money, and also she wants to help where she can. Molly's really upset, and it makes sense. She's supposed to be like 9, so it's like obviously she's gonna be upset that her parents are gone. But everyone is like getting mad at her. Like their neighbor lady comes over and cooks them food that she doesn't like, and she's like, "Well, this is your part in serving America," and it's like, no, excuse me. I would like some good food if I serve. A little girl comes to live with them. Her name is Emily, and she's from England, and it's like there were a bunch of like bombings and stuff, so she had to move in with them. So she's like just like living with them right now, and they're like, oh yeah, I know the Queen. My mom's friends with them. I live in Bennett Manor. We find out that she was lying just because she wanted to fit in. She actually just like lives in a small apartment.
Do you live in a castle? No, a manor. Bennett Manor.
And also Molly starts disliking Emily because Emily goes to school with her, and everyone likes Emily because it's like, oh my gosh, she's English. That's so cool. And I remember when I was in school, this girl had just moved from England, and everyone was obsessed with her for like the first like year she was there. Everyone was like, whoa, you have such a cool accent. What was it like? So it's like, it's so funny to see that here too, because I was like, yeah, girl, I know it. I see it. The 2 of them kind of work it out because, like, after a little bit, Emily confesses and is like, I lied. My dad and I lived above a sweet shop. My mom was killed a while ago, and I have never met any of the princesses. And it's so sweet because, Molly's just like, well, you'll always be a princess to me, which I'm like, that's so sweet, but what does that mean? And then there's a spelling bee at school, and she almost wins, but then we find out that the teacher's fiance was killed in action. So like it's like, okay, so spelling bee's called off. Both winners get something. I mean, like the final contestants would get something. Which, okay, why would you tell them immediately during a spelling bee? Like, tell them after. Someone came up to her and like whispered and was like, pss, 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 being like, your fiance died, which is crazy. Like, I would be like, I don't want to find out in front of all my students. A lot of their friends, family members have passed away in war, and Molly's like becoming more sympathetic with people she didn't like as much, where she's like, oh, her son died, I feel bad. Sorry. Like, but like a genuine way. I said it in like an asshole way, but like a genuine way of being like, okay, I have a lot of sympathy for these people. So then, she gets the main lead in the pageant, like the tap dancing lead. But it's so sad because that day she finds out that her father is missing in action because like he went out to help people and then he hasn't been found since. So the mom is super upset and they're like, okay, he's probably dead. But it's so sweet because Emily's like being like, no, he's not dead. Like, there are so many people who are missing there. It's such a crazy place. Like, people can be missing for so long and then they come home and it's like, it's so sweet. I'm like, you are like 2 years old, bro, and you have so much maturity. It's like heartbreaking but also very sweet. So then like she doesn't want to do the Christmas pageant anymore because she's like, my dad might be dead, I don't really want to do this. But then she kind of gets convinced to like help out. She's like, okay, I need to be patriotic, I need to do all this stuff. And she's also like, my dad was kind of the one who was like, hey, you should do this, or like helped inspire her to do it. So it's very sweet because she does perform, and then at the end of it she sees a soldier but she doesn't have her glasses on. And she puts them on and it's her dad and she like runs up to him. But it's so funny because it's like, who is that? Which is so me. I have a really bad vision, so I think if like a loved one was coming home, I'd be like, I don't want to run up to you because I don't know if it's you or not. But like her vision is trash, and it's like, why did you let her dance without her glasses? You know, like get one of like the ties around, put the glasses on so they don't slip. Like she needs her glasses to see. She can barely see her own feet. You know, her vision is so bad. And everyone's super happy to see him, whatever. He gets gifts for all of them, and he gets a gift for Emily, which is so sweet. He gives her her favorite book, which is a Christmas Carol, and it was signed by her dad, because her dad's still alive. He's just fighting. I forgot to mention that. It probably sounded like her dad died. Her dad's alive, and she's like, oh my gosh, how did you get this? And he's like, we if we have something in our minds, we do it. And it's like, I get that, but could you have like written and said, hey, by the way, your dad is alive? You know? But like she's obviously gonna be sent home once the war is over, which should be soon because this is what, 42 when this movie is supposed to take place. So then that's it. That's the end of the movie. This movie, okay, like this movie had less substance I think than some of the other movies, where this one is mainly being like, I want to tap dance but I think my dad's dead, but I'm gonna tap dance. Like the biggest thing is just being like, oh, people around me have family members that are dying, so I feel bad for them. I think it's an interesting message from a young girl's perspective, but it just felt like a little like, okay, I think we get it. This one was not like my favorite. I also just like, I did not watch this one much as a kid. This one and Felicity were the ones I watched the least out of all of them, so I was just kind of like, okay. I don't remember it, so I don't care. Like, I only remember the part where she takes off her glasses, and it's so funny because it's like, who else do you think is like walking up on stage for like on a kid's pageant? You know, it better be your dad or he's getting kicked out. That is the end of it. On to the next movie, which is Kick Kit Ridge, which was my favorite as a kid. I have that literal disc. It's my favorite one out of all of them. Like, me and my siblings watched it all the time. I had not seen this movie in probably like 5 to 10 years, and I still had a lot of the lines memorized. I was like, I know what they're gonna say. Also, before I get into this, I will be saying hobo a lot because that's kind of what it's called in this especially, but like I know that it's just transient workers and unhoused people. I'm not saying it in a demeaning way. It's just, this is how they talk about it in the movie, and I think, especially since this movie was supposed to be during the Great Depression, it was very common to treat them lesser than people, which they do in the movie. That's like a huge plot point, so I'm just going to say hobo, just so you guys know. That's the usage of the movie. Let's get into it. So, our main character, her name is Kit Kittredge, obviously. It's during the Great Depression. She lives in Cincinnati. Her dad's moving to Chicago because he got fired and he can't find work. So the mom and her are staying at the house until the dad gets work and then can come back. She's really upset about it. A few of her friends have to move away because they can't afford where they are. So they don't have enough money because the mom can't find work either. So they take in boarders. So like people, they pay a small price for like a room and then they get food and stuff. And so the main cast of people who are in the house is Kit and her mom, a classmate of hers named Sterling and his mother, a dancer named Miss Dooley, she is so sweet, a magician who's played by Stanley Tucci, his name is Mr. Burke, and then there's a librarian who has like a library mobile, and she drives around and gives people books, named Miss Bond. She's played by Joan Cusack. And also Kit is writing at the newspaper, or she's attempting to write at the newspaper, so she gives Mr. Gibson, who's played by Wallace Shawn, and he's like think of J. Jonah Jameson if he was in the Great Depression and Spider-Man didn't exist. Just kind of like mean like that. So she constantly gives her articles and he's like, this is not good enough. And she like writes about stuff that he's like, no, we need to get stuff like where like the public's opinion is this. Or whatever. Like she writes about the Great Depression. She writes it from like a kid's view. Then she writes stuff on like how hobos aren't bad people. Which is a whole plot point in this movie. Which is so crazy that like people are like, where people are like, we gotta run all the hobos out of town. And it's like, this is the Great Depression, babe. You could become homeless like that, you know? Ruthie, who is Kit's best friend, and Sterling, who is now one of, like, the roommates, become, like, inseparable, like, an inseparable trio, and they love hanging out, whatever. They meet two kids named Will and County, who are hobos who are here for work. And the mom, who is very sweet, hires them to do, like, yard work or other things like that, because County is, like, very, very little, super tiny. Will is like older, but he's still like a kid. I think he's probably like mid to late teens. And it's very clear that like everyone is biased against hobos because they're kind of like, yeah, like there was this hobo robbery. I got jumped by a hobo. Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes on that. And they're talking about that because there have been like a string of robberies that a hobo has been accused of doing. So the group living at the Kittredge house put all their stuff in like a little lockbox that the mom has, and like they put like their jewelry, all of the money, and like if they don't have it then they can't pay mortgage and they'll have to leave. Some family heirlooms from the other people. Miss Bond puts in a brooch, all these things, right? We'll get back to that, but remember that. And whilst all this is happening, Ruby's house gets robbed. A hobo breaks in, steals their stuff, and they notice that he has a limp and that he's wearing shoes that have a star print. And we know that that is Will's shoe because the mom gave them to Will because Will had like really beat up shoes. And then the police come in and are like, hey, we think you're the guy. And they're like super mean to him because they think of him as like lesser than, right? They're super mean to him and he's like, I was jumped a few days ago. They took my shoes and kicked me in the knee, so of course I have a limp and I don't have my shoes. And they're like, did you report it to the police? And he's like, I, a hobo, would report it to the police.
I was jumped.
Are those the boots you were wearing?
No, he took my boots.
Did you remember to report it?
Being a hobo, sir, who's gonna listen?
They continue, Kit continues writing. She makes a whole thing about, there's like a hobo jungle, they call it, where like a bunch of homeless people live near the water, and it's like a small community of people. They're all like very kind. So she writes a story talking about like how great they are and like the positive side of people, because it's like she's like, these are just people and like loyalty is really important and they always share and stuff like this. Mr. Gibson, who is the editor of the newspaper, doesn't like it, and she's like, well, I'm sorry you can't see a good story when it's in front of you. And she's like, there are good hobos and bad hobos, just like there are good and bad editors. Oh, she ate with that. I was like, okay, girl, don't have to be so vicious. And also while this is happening, her dad promised to write her every week. He is not. Just remember, sort of remembering that. It's not that big of a deal, but it just shows that she's like always waiting for a letter from her dad and it's never coming. The lockbox from their house gets stolen. And then Mr. Burke had seen the guy and he said it was Will. Will was the one who stole it. I saw it with my own eyes. So Kit's like, he couldn't have done that. He's a good person. It's dark. Like, you could have seen someone else. He's like, no, I saw Will.
It was dark.
It was Will, and he was carrying the lockbox.
So you're like, crap, is Will bad? Because they're kind of planting seeds where he like likes the book Robin Hood, and he has to take care of a little kid as well. They go to the hobo camp. Will and County are at their tent, and inside they find the boots and a brooch from Miss Bond. So they're like, oh my gosh, he did it definitely, and they're hiding him. So then Mr. Burke's cousin comes to town, and he's like, oh, he's just gonna stay with us for a few days. And while he's, like, talking to them, Kit sees that Mr. Burke has a tattoo that she knows that the guy who's been robbing the places are, because she saw him take a wallet, like, it was, like, really fast. And then she heard from another witness whose house was broken into that the guy had a bird tattoo on his forearm. And she sees that he has it. So she's immediately like, oh my gosh, it's him. And Mr. Burke, they're setting us up, or at least, like, they're setting Will up, and then Will's gonna take the fall, because obviously they're gonna assume that it's an unhoused person versus a scorned magician. She immediately tells Ruthie and Sterling, and I love that they're not even like arguing. They're just like, yeah, totally. And then they like all piece it together. And then she's like, okay, we have to find the lockbox and we can prove that Will is innocent. So they go into the room where they go into Mr. Burke's room because he's not there. And they find the lock. They don't find the lockbox, but they find some of the other jewelry. Like they find Ruthie's missing pearls from her mom, like because they broke into the mom's house. And the people are coming back in, so they quickly hide in the closet. And it's so scary. I remember being a kid and being like, "Oh my gosh, this is the scariest, most intense thing I've ever felt in my entire life." Because they open the door, but he like turns around and they're both like. So it's so, I remember being a kid and being like, this is the most terrifying experience I think ever. So then Kit is a little ambitiously crazy. She sneaks into their car and drives with them while they're going to try to find the lockbox because Frederick had buried it so like, no, they wouldn't get in trouble. So Frederick buried it and then both Frederick and Mr. Burke are going to find it. Kit is in the back of their car hiding. Ruthie and Sterling tell Miss Bond, the librarian, and then she's like, okay, I'm going to call the police. She goes into their house. She goes into Kit's house, calls the police, comes out and starts driving them to wherever it is because they're like because Kit had told them where to go. They get there and then like they find Kit and then they're like, okay, so like what's the plan? And it's like, oh, Miss Bond called the police. The police will be here any minute. We have to wait it out because they find that the guys have dug up the lockbox and are looking through it. And then Kit's like, wait, what house did she call from 911 from? And they're like, oh, your house, Kit. And she's like, our phones were cut off a month ago because we can't pay rent or like we can't pay for the phone bill or whatever. So it's like, oh my gosh, Miss Bond is in on it. So Miss Bond and Mr. Burke are dating and the three of them are evil. So they take back the lockbox and they're like running around trying to be like, yoo-hoo, I'm over here, I'm over here, I'm over here. And then they run to the hobo camp just in time to be like protected. Will and County are there and then the three bad guys come and start fighting the hobos and then they're all like, you know what, we're not gonna let you touch these little kids, like you guys are crazy and you're trying to hurt them. They take them down to the police station. It's like, we're gonna get our reward money, let's go. And then it also is just like proving that hobo did not commit all these crimes. And then like everything goes back to normal. County, who we find out is actually a girl who's dressing as a boy to be safer, and Will are safe again. And then Thanksgiving comes and all of the unhoused people come and they all have like a huge Thanksgiving together. It's very sweet. Everyone gets their money back and stuff. And then she goes outside because she's like, oh, I just don't want to be inside. Like, I miss my dad so much. Her dad is outside waiting for her, and it's so sweet. And then, like, the mom comes out and is, like, sobbing. Kit is crying. I was getting emotional at this part. I was like, oh, my gosh, this is so sweet. And then Mr. Gibson is like, your article is getting printed. So she gets printed, and she gets, like, money for it. And I was like, the dad doesn't even have to work. And the dad, it's very sad because he's like, I could not find a job and I wanted to write you something better, and every day it just got harder and harder. And he was like, but I realized if I couldn't face you, then I let the fear beat me. So it's like it's like very sad but very sweet. And I'm like, oh, it's so sad. So that's kind of it. That's truly the end of the movie. I love this movie so much. This is, I think, my favorite American Girl doll movie. I watched this one the most. The star-studded freaking cast, bro. Joan Cusack, Stanley Tucci, Wallace Shawn, Willow Smith. So that is it for this video. I will do a second part with the rest of them. I wanted to break it up a little bit because this one's going to be like very long. And also I didn't want to have to edit it all in 1 week. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. If you like the video, comment and subscribe, because if you don't, your life is going to be as tragic as an American Girl doll story. Also, if you ever watched these as a kid, let me know your favorite, because I am a Kit Kittredge girly, like, through and through. But, like, let me know. This is part 1. I really hope you enjoyed. This was very fun to make. Bye!